Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shauna from Shine Your Heart, and I am so happy to have you here to join me for the Yoga Tote Grande sew along. I absolutely love the design of this bag. I created it because I needed something to take to yoga with me that would hold my clothes, my block, my towel, my yogi toes. This bag is interchangeable for a pool day or a beach day and also a day for yoga. So I did my best to keep it as short as possible while getting through all of the important details. If you have not already downloaded your pattern, you can grab it at alwaysshineyourheart.com. It comes with instructions and pattern for A4 and letter size. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions about putting the bag together, and let's jump right in. We are going to start with our zipper panel. Grab all 4 pieces that you need, the 2 outer and the 2 lining, and you're going to use a piece of double-sided tape to fold the raw edges over to the wrong side about 1/4 of an inch. For the lining, we are only going to do one end each on these, and this has to do with the installation of the zipper, which when we get there, you'll see why we're only doing one end for now. Grab your zipper, tape, and your zipper head, and I'm going to show you how to install your zipper head. I'm using a number 5 zipper here, but they all pretty much go on the same. What you're going to do is split your tape. You're going to take the rounded end of your zipper head, and we're going to start with one side. You're going to feed the coil in just a couple little coils up. I don't usually go past the top of the zipper head. And you're going to hold that in place and then put the other side in, and you'll kind of hear them click into place. And then from here, you want to make sure that you're level at the top. Otherwise, you end up getting bubbles in your tape, and you just pull your zipper head down. This looks really nice, but we do need to finish the end off to make sure that it does not, the zipper head does not pull off. So grab your zipper tab. You're going to fold this right sides to the wrong side, fold it over about 1/4 of an inch on both long ends. And you can finger press it here, or if you feel better about it, iron press it. But then you're going to take those 2 ends and bring them right sides together. You're going to stitch it at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on both sides. Once you've done that, go ahead and trim that excess off on both sides, and you're going to turn your tab to the right side. Make sure you push your corners out. Just make it look really nice, and we're going to slide this over the end of our zipper. You can do these any number of ways, but this is just how I do it. I love the way it looks aesthetically, and it just makes for a really cute zipper end. So we're going to slide that over, put a little clip on it just to hold it in place, and we'll take it over to the sewing machine and stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from this raw edge. You can, if you want, go all the way around. I typically just do the the top stitch right along the edge. Now, for the other end of the zipper, what we're going to do is pinch it here, and then we're going to bring that little pinched area up to the zipper teeth. And this is going to create a curved edge here that will act as a zipper stop for us. And then this will get stitched into the seam, but pulling the squeezing the zipper and then pulling it up to the top, you can put a pin in right there, and then I like to just give it a couple stitches on the outer edge of the zipper tape to hold it together, just like this. We're going to do that on the other side. And you can see here when I pull the zipper up, it will not go past the part where it starts to round off. This is such a great way to do zipper ends. So now that we've done the other side, we're going to grab one of our zipper panels, and we're going to lay this about 1/2 an inch down from that top edge, and we're going to bring it right sides together and clip it. And then once you have it clipped, you're going to grab your lining, bring it right sides together and clip it all the way down. And then the end where we did not use that double-sided tape, What we're going to do here is just make sure that if we need to do a little bit more of a fold or less of a fold, we have the ability to adjust it down there. Now stitch it together, right sides together, and make sure you back stitch at the top and the back. And then when you're done, bring it back to the machine and you're going to top stitch it in place to hold everything down. This also makes it look really nice and professional. Now do the other side, same thing with the bottom, the other part of the lining that has the double-sided tape. Go ahead and do that, bring it to the machine, and you're going to stitch that together, right sides. You'll do the same thing, turn it, and then make sure that you top stitch the lining and the outer piece together. Pull your lining out as you go, like I'm doing here, just to make sure that it doesn't get kind of bumbled up under there close to the zipper. And then once you're done with that, you should have something that looks like this. So this is your zipper panel that's complete. What we're going to do now is find the center. You should have some clip marks that are transferred from your pattern. If you did not, like I didn't, just go ahead and fold this in half and you can clip the center fold and do the same thing on the facing pieces. So find your centers and clip them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use those notches to bring these right sides together. And these notches will come in handy later too when we add the slip pocket and the back. So bring that right sides together. And then when you stitch this, you're going to start where the panel, zipper panel is, not where the facing begins. You're going to actually start right here, right there, where the zipper panel starts. That's where we're going to begin our stitch line. So we want to do about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance here. And this just aesthetically looks better when we turn it. We won't see those stitches from the finished bag. So start here, bring it over, and we'll do a 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. Once you're done with both sides, what you want to do is open it out and finger press it. You can take it to the iron and iron it down if it makes you feel better, but I like to just finger press it. And then we're going to grab one side of our lining piece. You're going to bring this wrong side to the right side and align the top edges together. And then from here, we're going to top stitch the facing right along this edge. This will do two things. It will finish off the facing, make it look really nice from the outside, and also attach it to the lining. So we're going to do this for both sides. Now that we have both of our lining body pieces attached, you're going to take one of your side pieces, you're going to unzip the bag. This is going to give us a lot more space to work with. And you want to make sure that we're putting the lining right side on top of that extra little space at the top from the facing. So you want to go all the way to that top edge. And this should line up perfectly from top to bottom. And then we want to attach it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Staying on that side of the bag, we're going to bring right sides, the other body panel, over to the side panel and line it up at the top and do the same thing, 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down to the bottom. Now that we have one side panel completely installed, we're going to flip it over and do the other side. The difference on this side is that we do need to leave a space to turn the bag. So we're going to leave about 6 inches here on this first panel while it's nice and flat. It's the easiest panel to put it on. So just lift up your foot and keep going. And then once you cut your thread, you should have a little gap right there, a little hole that we can use to turn the bag later. So same thing, just bring the right sides together for the other part of the lining. right sides together, and we'll do a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down on this. And that will complete the sides of your lining. Zip it up, take a look, make sure, check your work, make sure it looks really nice. And then once you're good with that, then we'll move on to installing the bottom. So grab your bottom piece and you're going to align it with the center notches. You're going to clip or pin all the way around all 4 sides and make sure everything is lined up. Make sure all your corners are lined up. Now, this is a really important thing to understand when we're stitching the bottom for the lining as well as the outer body. You don't want your top going this direction. You will not be able to access the side seam when you get there. You want to be able to see your entire bottom panel, all 4 corners when you begin sewing. And we'll stitch this entire thing at a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around all 4 corners. Moving on to the handles, bring both of your handles and you're going to press them in half and crease them to get that center line. And then you're going to fold each side in to meet that center line. And then you'll fold it again one more time to kind of sandwich those raw edges to the center. Just like this. Fold it in half to get the crease. Then you're going to fold each side up to meet that middle crease. And then you're going to fold it one more time in on itself to make the width of your handle. From here, you're going to stitch just about 1/8 inch away from the raw edge. And I do these in succession. So I start with one, I just keep going, I bring the other one right behind it. And then once I get to the end, I turn and go up the other side. And it goes so fast. Now let's work on our slip pocket. Bring your slip pocket body and the lining right sides together. And you're going to pin the sides because these do have a tendency to shift around. So make sure that you double check the length versus the width because it does matter when you put this in. You don't want to be stitching these together on the wrong end, which I have done. So you're going to bring it over to the machine and stitch both sides at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then you're going to turn it to the right side. You are going to finger press the edges so that you get a nice sharp kind of crispy edge, which we will top stitch. So like I'm doing here, I'm rolling that lining fabric away from the outer fabric to get it nice and crisp. And then you're going to top stitch it 1/8 inch away from the edge to finish it off and make it look really nice. These are the edges that are going to hold the yoga mat on the front of the bag. So now take your bag body and using the notches that you transferred from your pattern, you're going to line the slip pocket and the bottom of the bag body to the front. And you're going to line those up and then we're going to stitch this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now for the top, what we're going to do is bring those notches together and then we're going to clip it because we're going to take one of our handles and we're going to, as we stitch this slip pocket to the body, we're going to also install one of the handles. So grab one of your handles, and I have a little ruler that I've been using forever. It's a 6-inch ruler. It's perfect. You're going to put that on the outer edge of your fabric because this lays in 6 inches away from the edge. And then we're going to move that end of the handle 1 inch away from that top edge. You can clip it, pin it, or hold it in place, but then you want to stitch the slip pocket to the body. And once you get to the handle, you want to do a back stitch just to make sure that it's nice and secured. Then when you get past the middle, go ahead and grab the other end of your handle, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to measure 6 inches over and then 1 inch from the top of the bag body. Hold that in place or pin it in place, and then you're going to do the same thing. Just stitch it down. And we do not want to cut these extra pieces off because this is what we're going to use to install our rivets later. It's going to give us a little bit more security. So now this is done. If you want to add a logo right here, this would be a great time to do it. You can add it later if you want also, but set that aside for now. And we're going to work on the pocket for the back. So now you're going to fold over your pocket top 1/4 of an inch, and then you'll fold it a second time to hide that raw edge. You're going to clip it. You can iron it. I just clip mine and then bring it over to the machine and stitch it at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Grab the body, bag body, and then you're going to lay this with the right side of the pocket facing up. And we're basically going to just stitch down this middle seam. You're going to go down one side and start at the top. You're going to give it a few stitches at the top to make sure, because it is a high stress area, you want to make sure that you really give it some stitches at the top. And then you're going to come down, you'll pivot, and then you're going to come up and just follow that line all the way up. Make sure that you give it a good few back stitches at the top. You can also put some interfacing behind it to secure it as well. And then what you're going to do next is bring the bag over, and halfway between that first stitch that we did and the edge of the bag, we're going to create another pocket line. So this should be a mark on your pattern that you can transfer over so you can see exactly where that line needs to be. And it's up to you. You can make this pocket as big as you want. You don't even have to put a pocket there if you don't want to. But this is how I designed it. And then attach it to the side seam on one side, then flip it over, and then grab your phone pocket pattern. And what we're going to do is align this with the outer edge of the raw edge, the one that we have not stitched yet. You're going to hold that in place and then grab an air marker or an erasing pen, and you're going to fold over. So that panel that we just folded over is actually the guide to let you know to first you line it up with the raw edge and then you fold it over, and that becomes your guide for how far away from the edge this pocket panel needs to be. So just trace around it all the way around, and then we are going to stitch this down to the pocket, creating a little case for your phone. This is optional if you don't want to do it, or if you want to make it bigger, it's up to you. There's plenty of space here to do whatever you want with this little section. Take it over to the machine, and we're just going to follow the marks that you made with your air marker. All right, once you're done with that, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Little pockets done. So now we've got 4 little sections. We have the phone pocket here, another pocket, and then this end pocket. So now that's done. We're going to install our handle on this side the same way that we did on the other side. Using your little ruler, you're going to measure 6 inches over, and you're going to bring your handle 1 inch away from the top edge. Make sure you backstitch once you go over it, just to give it a little extra security as you install it. Now that both of our handles are installed, what we're going to do is bring the first side panel together. Now make sure that you are, if you have a directional fabric, that you are not installing this side panel upside down. So just double check it. because I typically turn this upside down to install the other side of the side panel. Um, I have made this mistake. So just double check that you've put this in and it's going the right direction. So see how the bag is upside down right now. And so this is where I've made this mistake in the past. But let's get both of the side panels on. And then now that both of those are on, we can bring the other body panel over and attach those right sides together to the side panels. Now, all of these are stitched on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, now that the sides are on, let's go ahead and install the bottom. So your bottom panel should also have notches that you've transferred from the pattern. And go ahead and align everything. Everything should fit really nicely. And what we're going to do is we're going to stitch this on at a 3/8 inch seam allowance, and it'll go right up against the edge of your interfacing that you've added for that extra support. Same rule applies. You want to be able to see the entire bottom panel when you are stitching this together so that you can access the corner, the sides, and the corners, because the other way you will not be able to access those. Now that that's stitched on, go ahead and check your work. I like to stick my fingers through the bag and make sure that I can't poke my fingers out anywhere. At the same time, I also poke out the corners and make sure that they look nice and sharp. And just double check your work because now would be the time to fix anything that didn't get stitched in or anything that needs to be fixed before you completely construct the rest of the bag. Okay, so now what we're going to do is bring the lining piece together. And what you're going to do is make sure that your zipper faces the left and you want the front of your bag where your label is to be right sides facing the zipper panel. So put that in, and your logo or label should be facing you. And when you're looking at the label, your zipper should be to the left. I always start with the corner seams first to get those all aligned. I clip those first and make sure that everything lines right up on both ends. And then from there, I put my arms into the bag and I kind of pull it apart, like kind of get everything sort of situated like this. And it's like the bag kind of just falls into place when you do that. And then from there, I just put clips in to kind of hold it in place and make sure that when I'm stitching it on the machine that I am catching everything there that needs to be stitched together. So go ahead and stitch this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It can be a little fumbly when you get over to the side panels and have to turn those corners, but just take your time. There's no rush doing this. You are almost done with this bag. It's so exciting. Now, after you have it stitched together, go ahead and check your work. Make sure that all of the top edge, everything got caught in the seams. And then using that little hole that we left in the lining side panel, what you're going to do is you're going to start to turn your bag right side out. This can take some time. Don't get, worried or frustrated. Any wrinkling in the bag is totally normal. It can be ironed out. So I like to pull the opposite end of the bottom panel out first because it feels like once I get the bottom panel out, everything else is just super easy to get to follow it. So once you've got the bag turned right side out, stuff the lining back into the bag. And what we're going to do is fold over that top edge where we just attached the lining to the bag body. We're going to clip it, and then eventually, after we get done clipping all of it, we're going to top stitch it. And this will, number one, give us a finished look, but also it will hold the lining to the inside of the bag. This part is going to make it look really, really nice. So you want to make sure that you really give a nice crisp edge, separating the lining from the zipper panel and just making sure that it looks really, really nice. Once you have everything clipped, bring it over to the machine. And I always stitch from the top. I don't stitch from the inside. I like to stitch from the top and go all the way around. So you're going to want to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around on this. Take your time. There is no rush. This is basically your finishing, your polished touch for finishing the bag. Once your top stitch is complete, the last thing we need to do is to close the hole in the lining. Make sure that you've changed out your thread to match your lining so you don't see this, but what you want to do is just tuck the raw edges in and make sure that it's nice and flat. You want to get it as inconspicuous as possible because it's in the side, it will blend into the lining of the bag, but you need it to look really nice. Align those raw edges up, and then you'll just stitch it 1/8 of an inch away from that raw edge to close it off. And this is what you have. Look how nice that looks. So now one of the final pieces that we need to do is add our rivets, and then we will add our label and the bag will be done. Zip it up and have a look. Just do a little inspection, make sure everything looks really great. And then take your marker and mark here on the in front of the handles, and you're going to also do the corners of the slip pocket. And this is where those handles where we had done like a 1 inch outside of the top edge, this is what we're using to install the rivets. So I'm using this little hole punch here that I have. I love this thing. Just make your holes and then grab your rivets. These are, I think, 7mm rivets. They're just double caps, and install your double caps. And then I actually have a rivet press that I use from Cam Snaps that I absolutely love, that presses these and secures them nicely. Our final piece is to add our logo or your label if you haven't already. Mine irons on, and we are done. And this is how your bag should look. It fits so much, including a Manduka Pro in the front. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed yourself and your bag turned out beautiful. If you had fun today, join the Heartmakers Club over at alwaysshineyourheart.com. It's a free club, anyone can join, but we do project kits and sew alongs, and becoming part of the club gets you the inside scoop for early fabric drops, all sorts of goodies, and a community of people that want to learn and sew and make really beautiful things. You can join at alwaysshineyourheart.com. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next video.